If you're standing in the backyard wondering whether a freestanding ceramic smoker is really the right tool for your weekend cookouts, who's actually going to get the most out of it, who can safely walk away, and does the price make sense for a typical home chef? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Those questions are the exact ones that kept me up last night while I was scrolling through forums, reading a handful of owner videos and trying to picture the cooker in my own limited patio space. First off, the biggest hesitation most people feel is around the learning curve. Ceramic smokers aren't a throw it on, crank up the gas, and flip the steak kind of thing. They demand patience, a bit of temperature intuition, and a willingness to plan ahead. That's why the Coyote Asado Freestanding ceramic cooker can feel like a gamble for someone who's only ever used a backyard gas grill. On the flip side, the same patience rewards you with a level of smoke flavor and heat stability that's hard to match with cheaper metal drums or electric units. The risk of buying the wrong thing is basically ending up with a massive, heavy box that you'll never fire up because you're stuck in the "I'm not sure how to use it" loop. Let's break down what the Asado actually brings to the table. The body is made from high-grade ceramic, a material that's become the gold standard for long-run heat retention. In practice, that means once you get the cooker up to temperature, it holds that temperature almost without effort. I tried a low and slow pork shoulder the other night, and after the first hour the internal chamber was holding a steady 225 with only a couple of small vent adjustments. That consistency is a huge practical strength if you're aiming for that melt-in-your-mouth bark on a brisket or a tender pork butt. The dual-vent airflow system is the next piece of the puzzle. One vent on the bottom, one on the top, each with independent knobs. In the field, that translates to a very tactile way to fine-tune the draw. When I was smoking a rack of ribs, I opened the bottom vent just enough to let a fresh stream of oxygen feed the fire, while keeping the top vent mostly closed to trap heat. The result was a gentle, even smoke ring without the temperature spikes you sometimes see with a single vent design. It's not a magic button, but for anyone who enjoys the dial-in the temperature part of smoking, it's a real benefit. The cooking surface is 254 square inches, roughly the size of a small pizza pan. In everyday terms, that lets you fit a full rack of ribs, a couple of chicken halves, and a tray of veggies all at once. I set up a mixed cook the same day, ribs on the signature Coyote smoking grate, a tray of sliced sweet potatoes on the lower rack, and a few wood chunks on the built-in folding side shelves. The side shelves are a clever addition because they let you keep your hardwood chunks or even a small log within arm's reach without cluttering the main chamber. When the fire started to dip after a few hours, I just slid a fresh chunk onto the fire without opening the main door, preserving heat and smoke flow. Now, who should actually buy this? If you're the type who already has a backyard, enjoys experimenting with wood varieties, and sees smoking as a weekend ritual rather than an occasional novelty, the Asado fits nicely. It also makes sense for people who have a bit of extra space. The unit sits about 3 feet wide and 4 feet tall, so you need a stable, flat spot away from overhanging eaves. If you've already invested in a few good cuts of meat and you're looking to elevate them with a deep, authentic smoke profile, this is a tool that will actually deliver that promise. On the other side, skip it if your patio is more of a balcony, if you're limited to a small square foot of usable grill space, or if you're after fast, high-heat searing. Ceramic, by nature, is slower to come up to temperature than a thin-walled metal smoker, and it doesn't excel at the 500+ degree sizzle you might want for a quick steak. Also, the weight is a factor. The cooker is solid enough that you'll need at least 2 people to move it safely, and that's not a trivial consideration if you ever plan to store it for the winter or relocate it. The price point, while not cheap, reflects those material choices. If you're on a tight budget, there are lighter metal options that can still do decent smoke work, albeit with more temperature variance. A practical weakness I noticed is the break-in period. The first few uses, the ceramic walls seem a little more porous, which can cause a bit of ash leakage into the firebox. It's not a deal breaker, but you'll want to keep a small ash pan or tray underneath the fire area just to keep the patio floor clean. Another point.